Okay, we're going to install the lights, and what we're going to end up doing, I'm going to get it started, and the rest of it I got to narrate because the traffic out here is tremendous today. So the only thing you'll hear is trucks and semis and cars. So first thing we got to do is put the bottom plate of the light onto the top of the pole. It just slides right over the conduit here. Slides down like that. Make sure it's square with the pole. Well, I'm going to have to narrate the rest. First thing we're doing, we're taking a piece and we're putting it in the end of the pipe. It's like one of those scratchy pads. That's to keep the frogs and the roaches and all the other critters out of the pipe. Because this is Florida, we have a big problem with that. Next, we're sliding that board with LEDs already attached into it. And we're feeding it through the conduit of the bottom of the plate and then pushing the pipe onto the fitting of the plate. We have a hole drilled at the bottom of the pipe also to hold the stuffing in and everything. First thing we got to do is put 2 brackets on there to hold the pipe straight. Because what we're using is PEX pipe, and this is the one that comes in 10-foot lengths. It has some printing on it, some ink. We take alcohol and we actually clean the printing off with the alcohol and green scratchy pad. So we put the first bracket on. Now we put another one on the bottom. And we use made aluminum brackets and just use galvanized screws. At least those are roofing screws so they don't rust. Now we're getting a deck screw. I think that one's about 3.5 inches long. We already pre-drilled a hole in the bottom of the pipe. You got to push that stuffing up so that that screw don't grab a hold of it. While I was doing this one, it grabbed it just a little. So that made it a little tougher to get in. And this is so that water can drain out of it if it's got water in the top of the pipe so it can flow through. And then it's got the stuffing in the top and the bottom to eliminate the frogs and roaches, and it lets it breathe. So in case it ever got moisture in the pipe, it would actually let it loose. Now we're taking the 2 wiring harnesses that we built. I put a little shrink tubing on the end to keep that fine wire so it doesn't get caught while we're feeding it through the box. Now we got the wire all the way through the box. The next thing, the back harness, you plug that connector into the glow light. So after that's plugged in, that is done. Now what I do on this also, I take the little scratchy pad. Actually what that's from, I bought a scratchy pad from a floor scrubber, a white one. At Home Depot it was $5, and I cut them in my own cubes. It was the best material I found for the price. So after I get that in, now it's time to hook up the light. We just lay it on the side and make it a little easier to put on. And we're hooking the wiring harness up to the first 2 rows that's in parallel, that's in the light strip. And then the power, we're actually hooking it up in this strip. It back feeds going into the computer board up front, the power does, so that we don't have to do it redundant. Now we just flip the unit over. It actually has a little groove there. You got to get it popped into it. There, it popped. Now we'll just push it down. And we're only going to put 1 screw on each side right now because I have this sneaky feeling we might be removing them off and on to make improvements until I figure out exactly the final scenario. Actually, 1 screw on each side is fine, but we have this little problem in Florida called hurricanes. So I kind of overdo everything so it doesn't blow off or break off. Next, we're putting the power supply and controller in. And we're addressing the 5-volt wire is going to be coming up. And we're connecting the 5-volt wire to the power supply. We're attaching the ground. And now we're getting ready to attach the other wire. The reason why I did the harnesses and stuff is to make it easy to hook up in the field. It's always a lot easier to build things on their desk and not outside. And it's easier to maintain too. Now the next thing we're going to hook up the ground wire. So that's the 110 volts. There's the ground wire. And I use these real quick connectors. You just lift up the handle and you just latch them right down to the wire and push it over. They're actually UL approved, and you can use them in your house or everywhere you want to use them. It's a little more expensive than twist, but they're most definitely 10 times more reliable. So you can see I just lift up the lever, put the wire in the hole, flip it down, I'm done. And naturally the 14 gauge wire is stiff as a board. It's going to that particular power supply. Next thing, we're going to hook up the computer. And I did make an error on this. When I hooked up the wires, like right now I'm hooking up the ground, and naturally I put that on the 5 volts. And now I'm hooking up the 5 volts and I put it on the ground. So if you look at this picture, those 2 wires are backwards. Just to let you know, I'm glad I looked at it before I flipped the switch on, or I wouldn't have a little computer board. It would have been burnt up. So I got that dressed. Now the next thing is to wait until dark, turn on the lights, and see what happens. Now that's what they look like. My camera freaks out with the LEDs, so I try to get as good a picture as I can. As you can see, it's a nice globe on the top, and then I got the runner going down. that's my test program that I have right at the moment. And I'll have more programs, and we're going to be working off the network after this. So I have more pictures and more information when I get the rest of them hooked up and start working on the network progress of it. Thank you for watching my YouTube channel. I hope this was helpful, and I hope you enjoyed it. When you get a chance, if you would please subscribe to my channel, that would help us out. Thank you.